So Alabama's cookout was today. Was it a success?
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA's radio network. Luke Robinson, that's me, and Bama Online's Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and thank you for making us your first listen or second listen or third listen every day, and appreciate you every dayers. You guys are the absolute best, and appreciate all you tuned in to my solo live show last night. I just felt like we needed to do something. So, and it got a lot of reaction, and a lot of people joined in, and I appreciate all of you guys so much. I know Jimmy does too. And Jimmy is better, y'all, by the way. I told everybody you had COVID, and here we go. So Jimmy, Alabama had its cookout today, and reactions are just now coming in. We'll talk about some of those as we go, but overall, how do you feel like the event went? Was it a success?
First of all, it was a huge success in the sense that they served catfish and wings and chicken and ribs, so and like beans and stuff. But just hearing about the various meats that were offered at the cookout alone, I know it was successful because I haven't really eaten much lately, but it made me hungry. So I'm like, boy, I am getting better because the list of what they ate made me hungry. So I think it was a success there. I thought it was interesting. I think it was Zion Gibson, the corner from Gadsden, said in an interview he did with Andrew Bone, I believe. No, it was Joseph Hastings at BOL, that I thought was really interesting, that he thought the highlight was a scavenger hunt. And this was really a Saban era thing that the DeBoer staff has kept, the scavenger hunt. And I think it's really cool. I mean, it would be fun, I think, for just fans to do this. Although I'm sure they won't offer this, although that's a great way to raise some NIL money, probably is for fans to pay to go on the same scavenger hunt that the recruits do. But what they do is they put the recruits on golf carts with a hostess, and the hostess takes them around on golf carts, and they go to different locales on campus. And what they're doing is a literal scavenger hunt looking for items that are hidden around campus, and it's a competitive game. But what they're really doing is showing them the campus in a fun way. This is where the student center is. This is where the rec center is. This is where the business building is. This is where, and so they're whipping all around campus in a game type thing. It's competitive, but they're learning the campus with a hostess, and apparently they have different hostess girls at different location that would give them a clue as to the next thing. But anyway, the players, they seem to enjoy the heck out of it. And Zion Gibson, the outstanding 2026 cornerback from Gadsden, said that was to him the highlight of the trip. So it must be really an entertaining thing that they do for the kids to enjoy that more than the food. Because again, I saw like catfish, ribs, wings, chicken. I'm like, oh man, that sounds pretty good. It is a cookout for real.
Yeah, it's not like, hey, it's a cookout, we're going to microwave you some beanie weenies or anything.
And it's Bama Dining, by the way, that did it. And that's what most people think, oh, they must have Dreamland catered. Nope. Actually, Bryant Dining, is it's in-house prepared by the same people that prepare the football players and the athletes their food every day.
That's awesome. That's smart. One guy who was there is A.K. Deere,
Yes.
the running back. From Quitman, Mississippi, that we've been talking about. We've been sitting here expecting a commitment any minute now for the last month. As of 5:24 p.m. Central on Sunday afternoon, that has not happened. Another 25-9 committed kid is Anquan Fagans. I'm interested to see how his visit went, because he also went to Big Cat, where was a rousing success for Auburn. No way to say that any other way. Some of the UA commitments there: Keelan Russell, Ty Haywood, Caleb Cunningham, Dijon Lee, Duke Johnson, Chuck McDonald, Dawson Merritt, Jaden Harmon, Micah DeBose, Luke Metz, Abdul Sanders, London Simmons, and Mal Waldrop. And then there were a ton of great underclassmen. I won't go through the entire list, but Jackson Cantwell, a 5-star from Missouri. Alabama's pushing forward. Tank Jones out of Mobile, who also was at Big Cat, and Brandon Arrington, who's the #1 athlete for 2026. And of course, as you mentioned, Zion Gibson was there, as well as Ryder Lyons, a quarterback that we've talked about here, Vodney Cleveland, who's also at Big Cat, I believe, and Cedarian Morgan, who is also at Big Cat. So, Jimmy, great list. We're just it wasn't, the Cookout wasn't as media friendly as I would say Big Cat was. I mean, at Big Cat, it seemed like they had Auburn guys everywhere, like posting every minute of something that happened. Alabama didn't do that. And again, it's just different philosophies. I mean, both of them work, apparently. And so I'm fine with it. But what it does is, if you had any anxiety from yesterday when Auburn got some in-state dudes and they flipped Antonio Coleman yet again, which we'll talk about probably in the second segment, you had some anxiety. You're like, all right, I want some good news myself.
Right.
As I said last night, you got to step back sometimes to look at the big picture. It was just like, 2 weeks ago that Alabama was the talk of the recruiting world, and they skyrocketed number one. Even losing Antonio Coleman, they may have been pushed back number two. I hadn't even looked yet. But Alabama is still the crop right now. So I know it seems like I know Tennessee had a big weekend. Auburn had a big win. So your rivals had this big weekend, but Alabama's got more commitments, and they're higher rated. Their average is higher. And when it comes to 2026, don't sweat 2026 guys yet. Even if Zion Gibson were to commit, I'd be like, hey, just hold on, because we've already seen one dude flip 3 times, commit 4 times, and flip 3 times in this state.
Yeah, it is way too early to celebrate 2026. And I know that Auburn's doing a lot of celebrating about 2026 right now, which is fine. Good. I'm good. I'm glad they're happy with how things are going over there for 2026. But there's a long way to go for 2025. And I think the decommitment of Antonio Coleman is a good example of why there's a long way to go. This is a different – I remember saying this about 3 years ago when NIL started. Y'all might remember, some of you longtime listeners that we really appreciate, the new ones too. But I did say on this show 3 years ago, hey, everything that we thought we knew about recruiting and that you knew about recruiting, flush it. Flush it. Everything we've learned in our lives up till 3 years ago is now useless. There are new recruiting landscape and new recruiting rules. We're starting all over again in terms of learning how this works. And that's because of NIL. It's the biggest changer in the history of recruiting by far. And really what it means is, we used to laugh about recruiting and say, boy, these kids have no idea what commitment means anymore. Okay, well, that's like on steroids now because of almost always NIL. I mean, it's just radically changed. And like I said, from here on, Luke, most of Alabama's class is done, right? I mean, you got, 22, 23 commitments? So most of the heavy lifting seems done. But really what you're trying to do from this point is hold on to what you got. Add a few more, couple more, but holding on to what you got is the difficult part now. And, Coleman's already got out the door. There could be others. And if so, hey, you're also working kids committed somewhere else. I mean, that's happening too. It's not just Alabama being poached. Alabama is also a poacher. So we'll see what happens. There's no reason to be pessimistic about what Alabama's class is going to look like in December.
No, but we are going to talk about one of the stranger moments from recruiting here in this second segment. But right now, I want to tell you about Ibotta. Ibotta is fantastic. I got it on my phone. I use Ibotta all the time. It is absolutely a game changer because you're buying stuff, right? And you get cash back for it. You can do sandals, sunscreen, snacks for the kids. What all these things have in common? You're probably buying a ton again this summer. I have, and I've used Ibotta and gotten some money back on some of these things. Don't stress about the cost. Use Ibotta and get cash back on all your purchases when you stock up on all of your summer essentials. Look, if you've already taken that dream vacation and you missed out, well, you'll have another dream vacation coming up. And it may be sooner rather than later if you keep saving money with Ibotta. You can get cash back on all your purchases like I've told you. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every single time you shop, earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys. So you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip. Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 for just trying out Ibotta by using the code LOCKEDONCollege when you register. That's code LOCKEDONCollege when you register for Ibotta. I know you've seen Ibotta commercials. You've thought about using it. It's not a ripoff. I've had it for like 4 or 5 years, even before they became a sponsor. I'm sad I missed out on the code, but I don't care because I've made so much money with Ibotta. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back and use code LOCKEDONCollege. That's IBOTTA in Google Play or the App Store and use code LOCKEDONCollege. You about Factor. This is a new sponsor. We appreciate them. Look, warmer, sunnier days are calling. Not today. It's raining, but that's okay. Fuel up for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals in time to finish out the summer, thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and are ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you always got time for great tasting, nutritious meals. Look, start today with it. With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. Crush your wellness goals this summer and going into the fall. Get ready to fit into your Alabama football jeans. How about that? With dietitian approved meals and ingredients you can trust. Make your day delicious from breakfast to dessert. Head to factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50. That's factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 and use code LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. Holy cow, that's a lot of savings. That's code LockedOnCollege50 at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 and get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. I also want to tell everybody to check out Locked On Sports today. I mean, none of the screaming, all the info. I'll just put it to you that way. And, go check out Locked On SEC. And if you want to if you're a glutton for punishment, go check out Locked On Auburn. I'm sure Zach Blackaby has been, dancing naked in the streets about Auburn's Big Cat Weekend. Now, I know. Well, he's lost a lot of weight, probably by doing Factor meals. Zach looks fantastic. I got to give him a lot of credit. It should be Small Cat Weekend the way Zach looks right now. But, Antonio Coleman, I talked about it last night. Some of the people in the comments thought, hey, you think too much of this guy. I thought I was pretty clear. Like, I would like him in this class. Okay, if you said none of the other stuff has happened, would you like him in this class? Yeah, I would. I think he's a good player. I like Saraland as a program. They're coached well. They're always in the thick of it. They have studs all the time. Ryan Williams is a Ryan Williams podcast, came from Saraland. But, Jimmy, upon reflection, I'm okay if the coaching staff were like, I'm sure they're not publicly going to say this, but if the coaching staff were like, you know what, dude, best of luck to you. I can live with that. I can also live with if the coaching staff are like, we're not giving up on anybody. We think he can play. We want him on this team, and we're going to keep trying because he's incredibly impressionable. All you got to do is get him back on campus. Yeah, he's supposed to be at Cookout today, and he didn't show. But, hey, give him a minute, and things may change.
Yeah, coaches aren't as vindictive as fans are, or even as vindictive as I would be, because that's why I'm probably not cut out for that whole industry, because I would be, believe it or not, a little more emotional than y'all would think about how, a kid that's flipped as many times as he has, and I'm probably more quickly to cut bait maybe than the professional coaches are. But the coaches, they know, Nick Saban was remarkably patient with prospects. He always was. And regardless of fans feeling disrespected or anything, Saban never was. He he hung with the kids that he wanted to sign until the very end. And so I'm not anticipating Alabama cutting ties with Antonio Coleman. I think that they're going to continue to recruit Antonio, just like Auburn continued to recruit Antonio when he was committed to Alabama. So I don't anticipate Alabama not recruiting Coleman any further. However, Alabama might be patient with him and not vindictive, but they're also not dumb. You have to assume that Coleman won't be in the class. That's not someone you can depend on to sign in December. So I think Alabama's going to do two things: continue to recruit Antonio Coleman because he's a kid they identified as someone they want in the class, and B, look at other options. Both things can happen. When I say look at other options, fans immediately look to uncommitted kids. What 3-star out there might be a diamond in the rough? No, Alabama's going to recruit kids that are committed to other schools too. That's how this works. Again, you can be poached from, and you can be a poacher yourself. That's just how recruiting works in this new landscape. So Alabama does need a better group at defensive line right now. It's just, London Simmons from Mississippi and Steve Mbuamwa, who's in junior college in Mississippi. He's part of the 25 class now. So you have two. You would just like three. It would be fine if Alabama just added one more guy. Apparently, that might not be Coleman. So you look for another guy, and you got 5 months to go. And look, had Coleman come to the Cookout today, committed to Auburn, he would have been welcome. And had he come to the Cookout, Alabama would continue to recruit him. He didn't come. That doesn't mean Alabama's going to stop recruiting him. Just like if Coleman hadn't flipped to Auburn, would Auburn have stopped recruiting him? No. I mean, recruiting is over in December. It's not over in July.
I'm going to save you some breath and say you could say the exact same stuff about Derek Smith, who apparently didn't show up to the Cookout. And again, so be it. He is committed to Alabama still, to our knowledge. He could flip any day now to Auburn. That could very well happen. And I would hate to see it happen. I like Derek Smith a lot. I think he's a great player. At the same time, I don't think Alabama would quit recruiting him then either. And I think what we all have to remember is let's also see how the seasons play out. I mean, what if Alabama is gangbusters and Auburn stinks it up? Conversely, what if it's the other way around? So it could, a lot of things are going to happen between now and then. Look, we've got a presidential election in November, and nobody knows what the heck is going to happen. That thing's been flipped already. Robert Downey Jr. has flipped from Iron Man to Dr. Doom. I mean, things are flipping like you wouldn't believe right now. So just hang on to your hats. I mean, things are going to change. And, so Jimmy, in this next segment, let's talk about who you think actually might commit next and who some of these other targets may be. But, of course, I want to tell you about FanDuel. You love FanDuel. I love FanDuel. We all love FanDuel, right? I love sports so much. They're not, sports like they should be, but that's okay. All the playoffs are done. Major League Baseball is kind of in a meh place, but an Olympics going on. But you know what? If you're just sort of a casual fan, if you're a FanDuel dude, everything's fun. This summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a booster or bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everybody every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most of your summer. And FanDuel, of course, is the official betting partner of Major League Baseball. Okay, so we've talked about AK Deer. Jimmy, there's no reason to think he's not going to commit to Alabama, right? I mean, that's still something we believe, right?
Yeah, we have not changed our prediction at BOL. We think AK Deer will commit to Alabama. We've said we think he would commit sometime in July. We're running out of July days. Could happen after the show today. Could happen later this week. Hey, it's up to the kid as to when he wants to go public or announce his future plans. He's already been committed to Ole Miss once. Again, nothing is final till December, right? Nothing's final until the ink hits the paper or the email or however they're going to do it now. Who knows with today's technology? But no, I fully expect AK Deer to be in this class. What we don't know is the when, and we'll see. Could be soon.
Would like for it to be soon. And I think Alabama would like some good news here. So that would be fantastic. So who else?
Here's another clue. I don't know if you want to call this a clue. You know who was not at the cookout? And if you want, who's not at the cookout is Turbo Rogers, the running back from Montgomery, not at the cookout, though committed to Alabama. But let's remember this. Turbo Rogers committed to the last staff. That was a last staff thing. That doesn't mean this new staff doesn't want him. I don't think that's the case at all. Alabama has continued communication with Turbo throughout. I'm thinking what they would like to do is see him play some games this fall. Last year, his junior year, he played at IMG, didn't play much football at all. So there's not a lot of junior tape. There's not a lot of junior tape out there. So I think with Turbo, it's a little up in the air as to what's going to happen. But he was not at the cookout. But you know who was? A.K. Deer. So that should tell us quite a bit about what's happening at the running back spot at Alabama.
Do you feel like Alabama would still go after another running back, assuming they got A.K. Deer and lost Turbo?
I think it would be – I don't think they would look at it like losing Turbo because he didn't commit to this staff. So I don't think they look at it like, hey, we lost him because Turbo wasn't committed to the new staff. So I don't think they would look at it like they lost someone. I also think they would be fully satisfied with just one running back, but they would take two. But the second one has to be the right guy. And that right guy might be Turbo. They'll be watching this fall when he plays for Carver, which is going to be a great look because he's going to get the ball a ton playing 7A football. Carver plays a tough schedule in Montgomery. They'll get a really good look at him this fall. They might determine this fall that Turbo is the right guy. So to me, it's about taking an extra one, meaning, hey, they needed one, and A.K. Deer could be that one. But they might take two, but then it's about the who. It's not the how many, it's the who. Maybe that's Turbo, could be another back, but I think once they have one, they will feel like, okay, we're good at running back. See, all the running backs they have on the team could come back next year. Now, the hope for Alabama fans is that Jam Miller is so good this fall that he just goes to the NFL. That's the hope because he's draft eligible, right? Don't we hope Jam Miller is so good that he ends up in the NFL? But even if that happens, you still have four guys coming back. A.K. Deer would be a fifth. So once you add A.K., you're fine. Now
I'm with you on that. And I mean, look, I know we've talked about this defensive lineman thing a lot in the past on this pod that, a lot of these defensive linemen can come back for Alabama next year too.
Right.
And so, everybody's worried about defensive line recruiting right now. I'm not so much but I think the shortage of quality defensive linemen Alabama has put out, and I say quality, I mean, I'm talking about high bona fide, like knock you down quality. By the way, prayers up to Christian Barmore, who apparently is being diagnosed with some blood clot issues, and he's out indefinitely right now for the Patriots. And,
wow.
That's a dude that I'm talking about. Like, give me another Christian Barmore. That's
right.
What I'd like to see.
Who was a name that popped up late. I mean, I don't think it might have even been a senior year thing. I mean, I remember Christian Barmore was a late. And let's remember, just like I said, Alabama's going to be watching Turbo this fall. Alabama's watching a lot of seniors that are somewhat off the radar a little bit, but they're on Alabama's radar. And it's like they get to evaluate a senior season too. And guys like a Christian Barmore, you don't know who's going to show up. These kids change radically year to year. There's always late blooming senior season prospects. So let's see, and get back to Luke's earlier point about defensive line, which is so true. All I can look at is on the field. This is going to be a good defensive line this year based on the fact that everyone can come back next year, but Tim Smith, it's going to be really good next year. There was a comment on our board at BOL today about, I'm really concerned about defensive line, not this year or next year, but deep into the future because of recruiting this year and last year. And my response to that is, first of all, I get it based on what the defensive line group looks like right now and based on what they signed a year ago. I get that. But because of the portal and because of this landscape that's out there now, you have to be a soothsayer to know what Alabama's defensive line is going to look like in 2026. I mean,
what it reminds me of a little, Jimmy, is the NFL draft now, or even, I mean, especially the NFL draft. The NFL has turned into, you got to win now. You win now. and worry about later. I mean, I think that college football used to have a bit of patience about it. Like you get a new coach in, you see what happens. And I mean, let's talk about Hugh Freeze even for a second. I mean, after the New Mexico State game, people were like, what's going on here? And I mean, when he was on a vacation at the Bahamas or when Alabama had their big turn in the recruiting world, and people are like, what is going on here? Well, now things are picking up for him a little bit more and people are happier, but I'm saying you can get on the hot seat quick. And so you don't have time to be like, I'm going to take a shot at this guy and hopefully he pans out down the road. That just doesn't work anymore. And so you're right. I mean, Alabama's not – they can wait and look in the portal, and if they have to spend extra to get one, they probably will. I mean, everything is like win this minute or else you'll be out of here.
Yeah, that's all great points. I mean, this can be fixed in the portal if there's something that needs to be fixed. Because in 2024, you're fine. In 2025, things look really good. I agree. As of today, 2026 looks a little shaky. Thankfully, there's this transfer portal that it can change everything overnight. And there's multiple portal windows between now and the start of 2026. So there's just no reason at all to get worked up about that. I mean, the concern needs to be recruiting the 25 class and what happens on the field in 2024. And then we'll see what happens in the December portal window.
All right, that's going to do it for today's pod. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.